Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I am Leilani and here we talk about everything transformation, healing, mind, body, spirit connection, and really just what you need to transform your life today, okay? Now, I am loving this season of life. I'm going to be really honest with you. And the fun part about it is that it's not necessarily because of any external circumstance, because I'll tell you one thing, guys, it has been a test of my faith daily, okay? A test of my faith daily. You might see me as this certain image, and let me tell you, the levels of uncertainty that I've had to deal with, okay? The levels of uncertainty that I deal with on the daily, and it doesn't even matter. Like, it doesn't even matter to me. It literally does not even matter. Like, I'ma just speak. I don't even know what this episode is gonna be about, but we're here and we're doing it. Like, it's crazy to me because it feels like such a lifetime ago, but really, like, so many situations and so many circumstances happened, like, literally 2 year window. And the thing that shifted was, for so long, and I didn't notice this because it was so subconsciously embedded into me, but I had this deep attachment of attaching my worth to the amount of money that I made, to my status or the name on my resume or whatever title. Like, I had this deeply rooted subconscious attachment that my worth was measured by these external circumstances, okay? And I see it so clearly in others when they're operating from that, because everything they do is for the status. Everything they do is for the validation from other people. Everything they do is to acquire more so that they can have this perception of security. But the security is only there. Because you think it's there. So what I mean by that is, if that belief is superficial, right? If that belief that I am secure because I have this amount of money in my bank account, I am secure because I have this title, then what happens when that title is taken away from you? What happens when you lose your money, or you spend all your money, or you have no access to your money? And that's what happened. I had to experience what it was like to have literally nothing in my bank account, negative in my bank account. I had to experience what it was like to really get to the point of, I may or may not be living under a bridge in a week or so. And while that was my worst case scenario, like really worst case scenario, and I knew deep down, like, yes, maybe I could ask somebody, like, they wouldn't let me get to that point, but I had to get to that. I had to get to that and really see that physicalized of, like, oh shit, this isn't too far away. This is not too far away at all. But I had to experience that, I had to fully surrender in that. And part of it was recognizing the role that I was playing in my own suffering, okay? And also understanding and knowing that while I was experiencing that, I truly had to surrender to God. there was no other choice in that. Simultaneously, within that window, I was pregnant, okay? I was not feeling safe physically, mentally, emotionally. I had to make a really hard decision of leaving a relationship that I knew was not good for me or for my child. I had to really be, I had to be the mother, the man, the father. I had to be all everything that I needed during my pregnancy. I had to be that. And this isn't to say that I didn't have some help, but in the ways that I really needed it, that I really wanted it, I had to turn to God for that. And God, through that surrender, through that full like break of my ego, like I was able to make it through. Okay? There was moments, there was more than once during my pregnancy that I did not want to be here, nor was I sure that I wanted to keep my pregnancy, because it was that fucking hard. It was hard. It was so hard that I'm like, do I really want to bring a child into this world when I don't even know where I'm gonna live? And there was so much uncertainty. I was this close to losing my house. And even then, like, I had to surrender to that. I had to be like, well, you know, God gave me this house in the first place, because he really did. He really did. It's a miracle that I have this place. So I was like, all right, well, you're just taking it back now. Like, I had to surrender to that idea. On top of that, I was given a time frame, right? I was given a due date, and my daughter came earlier than expected. So another layer to that was me being even more unprepared for that, right? There's a period of time where I wasn't even living in my house because I was scared to be in my house. So I wasn't even getting to enjoy it. I was in full survival mode. And part of that, what turned that on was really like everything was shattering before me. There was no security of a job. There was no security of money. There was no security of a relationship. There was no security even of my health. None of that. I had nothing of that. Okay? So if I was anybody else, maybe I didn't have to get to that point. And I pray for every single person that you don't have to get to these points. But some of us do. Some of us do get to these hard moments in order to shake us up and to wake us up and to really trust and surrender. And yeah, well, I had the option to still play into my victim mode. Well, I had the option to still tell myself the same stories. Well, I could have ended it all. God kept showing me that he was there, that he was holding my hand, that he, even though it seemed really, really isolating, he was still guiding me through that. So much so, guys, I'll give you one example. I had a car that I've had for a few years that it was already, it was a little older, okay, and he had some problems. It really wasn't the safest car to be driving, but that's what I had. And during my pregnancy, it just seemed like the problems of the car were getting worse, okay? It was ignorable, but it was also very expensive. And because I did not have the resources at the time to get that situated. I literally was driving a car that could have broken down at any moment. There was moments in my pregnancy where I was literally in the side of the highway because my car just stopped. Okay? And one day I was very pregnant. I was working. I was nannying. I was also exhausted because like when you're holding life, like especially like towards the second and third trimester, yeah, I had this car, and that day after I was nannying, I also was going to work to facilitate a workshop. And I literally, like, I needed to do the workshop because that was my form of compensation at the time, right? So as I was gonna leave the house where I was nannying, I went to back out, and it was like a little hill, like a driveway hill, and literally like ripped off my bumper. I literally like ripped off my bumper. So it was like hanging by a thread. And the mother of the child that I was watching, like I think she already knew that I was pregnant, and she just wanted to make sure that I was gonna get to my destination safely. So luckily it wasn't too far, but either way I had to drive the car because I didn't have another option. And yeah, at that point I was like, okay, like it was already on its last limb, and now it's like the whole bumper's off. Like I can't be driving a car like this pregnant, you know, no sense of like that car could break down at any moment. And you know, I'm pretty sure I cried a lot that night. But yeah, basically I had reached out to someone in my church, and you know, my church was so helpful in really just being such a rooted support system, especially when I had my daughter, because like I said, had her early, was not prepared for anything. And I don't even know how much time from the moment that my car literally was not usable to the moment that God gave me a new car. Okay, maybe a few months. Not even. Probably, I don't know. It was, if that was like maybe less than 2 months. And in that time, like I was home anyway. So yeah, all that to say, this is just one example of how God has worked a miracle in my life. Of in that moment, I was like, I was done. I was past done because I'm like, all right, well, none of this is working out. Yeah, none of this is working out. I may pop at any given day. My daughter's finding this very funny. What are you laughing about? So, yeah, all this to say, you guys, like, there's so much that I know that I'm going to speak more on, but just to, like, paint a picture for you that I had to go through all of that. And I'm not to say that I'm in a, you know, a whole other world right now. Like, I'm better than before, but there's still things that I have to overcome and really just anchor in, right? Anchor in that is despite things not looking a certain way, despite things, you know, maybe, yeah, it is a little scary sometimes. It is a little bit questionable. It is a little bit, you know, edgy. But I know that God got me. I know that God got me. And this also isn't to say to bypass, right? Because that could happen a lot, especially in certain communities, or just certain ways of believing that you bypass things that are going on. You good? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it doesn't mean that you're gonna bypass certain things that are going on. Like, there's days where I'm like, yeah, we're doing this, like, one way or another. I don't exactly know how, but I still choose to show up, and I still choose to serve, okay? And I do it because God has called me to do so, okay? And a lot of times when God has called you to do something, it is not going to make sense. More often than not, everything in your external reality is going to tell you reasons why you shouldn't be doing X, Y, and Z. Okay? But that is when the distinction of listening to the world and listening to God comes into play. So if this resonates with you, know that we are going through this together, and simultaneously, faith is amplified with those who are deeply rooted in it, okay? Faith isn't something you have when things are just going well, you guys, okay? Faith is unwavering. True faith is unwavering. So maybe you might find yourself in those moments right now where it's like, it's a little bit tougher to have faith right now. It's a little bit questionable. But if God has pulled you out before, he will do it again. If God has proven to you of his presence, he will do it again. So I just wanted to say, like, I'm figuring this out day by day. And I don't even want to use the word figuring it out. I'm just doing it. I'm doing it because who else is going to do it? Who else is going to do it? And I know that there is multiple. There's multiple of us, right? Because you're watching this too. I know if this resonates with you, you have experienced things like this. There just comes a point where it's like, all right, this is it. This is it. And I'm in full faith and full dedication and just full trust. Full trust. And yeah, I don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. But I do know that I'm not just showing up for myself. I'm showing up for others. I'm showing up for us. And as you show up, because you have something to offer this world, you have a specific blueprint that you were given. As you show up, you are also reclaiming that faith, and you are also embedding it. So just know that you're not going through this alone. All right? And yeah, we're in this together. That's all I can say. That's all I can say. And another thing I would say is sometimes all you can do is laugh. And laughter really does help. Laughter really does help, you know. But out of all of this, I think the main point that I want to make is that when your worth and when your identity is I wouldn't even say tied, it's literally integrated with Christ, with God, with our Creator, all this other shit, it doesn't even matter. That's a cherry on top. That's the cherry on top. So when something doesn't go your way, when something might be taken away, when you lose something that you thought was it, you're not going to feel like unworthy, or you're not going to go to depressive episodes, or you're not going to, you know, whatever, destruct your vessel or your life or your relationships just because you lost something that you thought was the only thing that was giving you your worth. The thing about God is God is omnipresent. Christ is unwavering. His love for us is unwavering. It doesn't even matter if you mess up. It doesn't even matter. Like it none of this really matters, right? It matters because we give it value, and we give that attachment to it. But when you can be anchored in that, everything else is just a bonus. And I will tell you from my personal experience that these things that once scared the shit out of me do not scare me anymore, because I've already seen what could happen. I've already been through certain situations where I'm like, oh shit, like this sucks. Now that doesn't mean that I'm going to choose to experience that. That doesn't mean that that's my ideal situation or reality. But it does mean that my worth is not tied to that anymore. So I'm going to show up the same way. I'm going to show up the same way. And you can too. You can too. This is available to all of us. This is available to all of us. And if no one has told you, and you know that you have something to offer this world, do not let something like the numbers that you see in your bank account, or the title that you get from a job, or a certain recognition, or the lack of, stop you from doing what you are meant to do. And with that, I love y'all. Let me know what you think. Let me know what resonated. Any reflections, and honestly, we'll see what I post about next. I definitely will speak more on just the journey, you guys. And if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel. Subscribe to my Substack. I'm also on Threads. Bless you. Add me on there. And I will see y'all on the next episode.